It started with a secret glance across the dinner table. One moment I was just my brother's shy, quiet sister, and the next, I couldn't stop thinking about him. The guy who used to sneak video games into our house. The guy who helped my brother climb out of windows late at night. The guy I thought would never see me as more than a little sister figure. But something changed. And it wasn't just me. He was my brother's best friend, confident, charming, the kind of guy everyone naturally gravitated toward. He had this way of making people feel seen, even in a crowded room. I still remember the first time he stayed over for the weekend. I was in high school then. He had a cocky grin, that messy hair, and eyes that felt like they knew all your secrets even before you spoke. But back then, he was just off limits. A name tied too closely to my brother. A presence that was always around but never truly mine. Over the years, I watched them both grow into young men. College came and went. Life moved on. But somehow, he never really disappeared from my orbit. And when he came back into town last year, fresh out of a rough breakup, more serious, more quiet, I saw something in him I'd never seen before. Something that mirrored how I'd been feeling for a long time. It wasn't planned. It wasn't something I ever imagined would actually happen. But one night changed everything. A moment alone after my brother's engagement party. Music low, emotions high. The house was quiet. I walked into the kitchen and he was just there. Looking at me like I wasn't just his best friend's little sister anymore. And in that pause, in that breath, we crossed a line we couldn't uncross. Since then, we've been hiding it. Every message, every look, every excuse to be in the same room, all of it carefully planned. And I know what you might be thinking, why not just tell my brother? Why live like this? But it's not that simple. You don't betray your own blood. Especially not with the one person he trusts the most. I didn't expect the guilt to hit this hard. I didn't expect to fall so deeply, so quickly. And now I'm caught in this emotional mess between loyalty and love. He's still my brother's best friend. But he's also the only person who sees me for who I really am. The only one who hears what I'm not saying. And the scariest part? I think I've already imagined a life with him. I just don't know if it's a life I'm allowed to have. Every day we pretend. Every day we walk this tightrope. But something's going to break soon, because secrets like this? They don't stay hidden forever. And it's only a matter of time before someone finds out, or one of us chooses to walk away. What happened next? I never could have seen coming. It wasn't just a crush. It had been building for years, quietly, slowly, hidden between harmless smiles and casual conversations that never went too deep. I used to brush off my feelings, telling myself it was just admiration. That he was just kind, or funny, or protective in a way any good friend would be. But deep down, I always knew it was more. And I think he knew it too. We never talked about it. Not when he started dating someone in college. Not even when I'd catch him looking at me during family BBQs or holidays, like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. He kept his distance for a long time. But after his last relationship ended, something shifted. He started showing up more often, offering to help around the house, checking in on my mom, texting me about random things that didn't really need a text. It felt innocent at first. Until it didn't. One night, my brother left his phone on the kitchen counter and stepped out. I heard a message come through, and I glanced out of habit. It was from him. Just one line, "Did she tell you?" My heart dropped. I didn't know who he was talking about, or if it was about me, but my chest tightened in a way that felt too personal. That's when I realized this wasn't just happening in my head. Something was unraveling. And I wasn't ready. The more time we spent together, the harder it got to pretend. My brother had no idea. To him, we were just friendly. We all had history, after all. But beneath that surface, there were moments, quiet ones, where he and I would lock eyes and everything around us would blur. I could feel the tension growing. The kind you can't hide forever. The real conflict wasn't just between right and wrong, it was between my heart and my conscience. I kept asking myself if this was love or just a moment of weakness. Every time he touched my arm or leaned in too close, my body reacted before my brain could reason. And then I'd spend the rest of the night lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we ended up here. Wondering how long we could keep this secret love story hidden without destroying everything around us. Things got even more complicated when my brother invited him on our family weekend trip. I wasn't prepared for the way my heart flipped when I saw him step out of his car. My brother was clueless, smiling, joking, so excited that his best friend was joining us again, like old times. And that's what made everything so much harder. I wasn't just risking my brother's trust. I was risking years of family memories, shared loyalty, and the one person he'd go to war for. That weekend, I felt like I was walking on glass. Every time he stood too close or looked at me when no one else was watching, I felt a mix of guilt and desire. One night, after everyone went to sleep, I stepped outside to get some air. He was already there, sitting on the porch. We didn't speak for a minute. Just sat in silence, listening to the crickets and the wind through the trees. Then he whispered, "We can't keep doing this." But his hand found mine anyway. In that moment, I realized he was just as torn as I was. But neither of us could stop. And with each passing day, it was getting harder to pretend we weren't falling deeper into something we both knew could ruin everything. The next few weeks were a blur of close calls and quiet panic. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped, terrified it might be a message seen by the wrong eyes. Every gathering, every moment we were all in the same room, felt like a ticking bomb. He and I became experts at pretending, at keeping our distance when people were watching, then stealing seconds alone like we were running out of time. My brother had no clue. In fact, he started getting suspicious for all the wrong reasons. One night, he sat me down and asked if I was seeing someone. I lied. I looked him in the eye and said no. I felt something twist in my chest when he smiled and told me he was just looking out for me. That I deserved someone who'd never hurt me. The irony was sharp, almost cruel. Because the one person I was falling for was the one who could hurt him most. The tension between me and his best friend was getting harder to hide. My mom even made a comment once, something small, about how we seemed more comfortable around each other lately. I laughed it off, but I could feel the pressure building like a storm under the surface. Then it happened. We were at a friend's birthday party. My brother was there. Everyone was drinking, laughing, distracted. I stepped outside to get air, heart racing for no reason. And before I could even think, he followed me out. I told him we had to stop. That someone would find out. But before I could finish, he said something that froze me in place, "He knows." Just 2 words, and everything around me shifted. The air felt heavier. My legs unsteady. Because if that was true, nothing would ever be the same again. I froze. My breath caught in my throat as his words echoed, "He knows." I didn't even know what to say. My mind raced through every possibility. When did my brother find out? How? Did he see something? Overhear us? Was it a text I forgot to delete? A glance we couldn't hide? I felt the ground shift beneath me, like everything I'd been trying so hard to control was suddenly slipping out of reach. He looked at me, his face serious but calm, like he'd been holding this in for days. "I don't know exactly what he knows," he added quietly, "but he's been distant. Asking strange questions. And last night, he told me to stay away from you." That's when I knew. This wasn't just suspicion anymore, my brother had figured out that something wasn't right. And if he hadn't pieced together everything yet, he was dangerously close. I tried to breathe, but my chest felt tight. "What are we supposed to do now?" I asked, barely above a whisper. He didn't answer. He just stepped back, like the weight of everything between us had finally hit him too. Then came the second blow. The real twist I never saw coming. The next morning, my brother called a family meeting. Everyone thought it was just about the upcoming wedding. But when we all gathered in the living room, his expression told a different story. He held up his phone and said, "I got an anonymous message. A screenshot. Of you two." Time stopped. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears as my eyes locked with his. He didn't even look angry. He looked betrayed. Like the one person he trusted most and the sister he swore to protect had both chosen to lie to his face. And then he said something I'll never forget. "I don't know what hurts more, that you did it, or that you didn't tell me." He didn't yell. He didn't explode. He just stood up and walked out, leaving behind a silence that cut deeper than any words ever could. That was the moment I realized, we weren't just hiding a secret love story anymore. We were standing in the middle of its wreckage. And someone out there had been watching, waiting, and chose the perfect moment to tear it all apart. I sat there in silence long after my brother walked out. The screenshot, whoever sent it had been close enough to catch us. It wasn't just a private moment, it was proof. And someone had been waiting for the perfect time to use it. That thought chilled me more than anything else. I turned to him, my heart racing. "Do you know who could have sent it?" He shook his head, but something in his eyes told me he had a guess he didn't want to say out loud. The house felt like it had cracked open. My mom was confused, my dad was pacing quietly, and the man I'd risked everything for looked more helpless than I'd ever seen him. The tension finally broke. We had said the truth out loud. There was no more hiding, no more pretending. But just as I thought the worst was behind us, came the twist I never saw coming. Later that night, my brother knocked on my door. His face was pale. "I figured out who sent the screenshot," he said. "It was her." I blinked. "Who?" He hesitated. "My fiancé." Everything inside me went still. He went on. "She saw the way he looked at you. She told me she felt something was off. I didn't believe her, so she found proof. She sent it." Suddenly the story wasn't just about forbidden love anymore. It was about someone else who had her own secret, and had just changed the ending of ours. Everything suddenly made sense, the strange tension between her and me, the way she used to glance over whenever he and I were in the same room. She had known long before anyone said a word. And instead of confronting it directly, she waited. She held onto it like a weapon, saving it for the moment it would hurt the most. My brother's fiancée wasn't just a bystander in our story. She was part of the conflict, part of the reason it all came crashing down. The wedding was called off quietly 2 weeks later. My brother said he needed to figure things out, for himself, for us, for everything that got tangled between love and loyalty. I understood. I gave him space. And for a while, it felt like we all drifted into different corners of silence, trying to find peace in the wreckage. As for him and me, we didn't rush anything. The chaos had shown us what we stood to lose. We stopped sneaking around. We stopped pretending. We faced the truth, messy, complicated, but honest. And slowly, my brother began to heal. He didn't fully approve of us, not yet. But he didn't walk away either. That was enough, for now. One day, as we sat in a quiet cafe away from our usual places, he looked at me and said, "If you're going to love him with everything. Don't lie again. Don't hide." That moment stayed with me. Because in all the pain and confusion, there was still a thread of forgiveness, thin, but real. Looking back, our forbidden love story wasn't just about breaking rules. It was about the cost of silence, the fear of judgment, and how fragile trust can be when hearts are involved. It taught me that love isn't always easy or convenient, and sometimes it comes with consequences. But it also showed me that the people who truly matter, family, real friends, they don't leave when things fall apart. They rebuild. He was my brother's best friend. Now, he's not a secret anymore. He's the one who stood by me when everything else fell apart. And while the path wasn't perfect, it was ours. Real. Messy. Human. And that's what made it worth everything.